Greetings, this is Ruslan Bailov, and you're watching the latest daily overview of the situation on the Ukrainian front. Before we move on to the analysis of current events, I want to sincerely ask those of you who haven't yet subscribed to the channel to do so. I'm not asking for donations. I'm not organizing any fundraisers for the front. The only thing that truly matters for supporting this project is your subscription. It helps promote the channel and spread accurate information about what is happening along the front line in Ukraine. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. And now, let's move to the briefing. So let's head directly to the line of contact. We begin with the Zaporizhzhia direction, where Russian forces continue to advance, both toward Hulyapole and in the direction of Velika Mikhailivka and Pokrovske. Today the map has been updated once again. This is what it looked like just yesterday. Over the previous day, information surfaced about the clearing of the settlement of Nova Zaporizhzhia. Footage from Objective Control was published, showing a Russian drone flying over an already empty village. However, despite visual confirmation that the settlement was deserted, no footage showing raised Russian flags was published. There were simply no such episodes. In addition, yesterday reports came in of Russian troops advancing toward the settlement of Zelenyi High, as well as entering the territory of Chervon. And now today the map has undergone significant changes once again. As of the morning of November 23, 2025, data from most mapping sources indicate Ukrainian forces have been fully pushed out of Zelenyi High, and in Chervon the Russian army now controls around 60% of the territory. Moreover, starting from early morning, several authoritative pro-Russian analysts stated that the assault phase of the operation toward Hulyapole has already begun, meaning it's quite possible that fighting is now taking place on the outskirts of the town, with Russian forces attempting to secure positions in its eastern and northeastern parts. The situation here may begin to change rapidly, literally within hours. Now let's move further north, to the other flank of the Zaporizhzhia direction. Here, Russian units continue to advance toward Pokrovska and Velika Mikhailivka. Today, the Vostok Group, together with affiliated Telegram channels, published a video showing that Russian security forces managed to take control of two settlements, Taika and Odradna. The video, 2 minutes and 14 seconds long, shows the course of fighting on this section. In the final seconds, 2 moments of Russian flags being raised are visible. However, there is an important nuance to consider. Despite the video's claims about the clearing of Tika and Odradna, the flag-raising episodes actually refer only to the southeastern part of Tika and nearby farm structures. As for Odradna, not a single frame in the video shows a soldier with a Russian flag within that settlement. Nevertheless, the Ministry of Defense confirms the capture of these settlements. Obviously, they possess additional footage or reliable sources upon which the official changes are based. And here's what stands out over the past 48 hours. The same source consistently publishes updates on the advance of the Vostok Group, and in just 2 days, we've seen 2 settlements, Odradna and Nova Zaporizhzhia, declared cleared without clear video evidence. This indirectly suggests that the offensive is progressing at a very high tempo. It's possible that Russian units are passing through settlements so quickly that the final clearing and securing of the safety zone are postponed. That's why fighters and operators simply avoid filming. The front line is too close, Ukrainian drones are present overhead, and any unnecessary movement with a camera can be fatal. Overall, the pace of the operation is indeed impressive, and releasing detailed footage in such conditions is extremely risky. We'll continue monitoring how the situation develops. It appears that the first phase of the Zaporizhzhia offensive is nearing completion, with the final step of this phase being the clearing of Hulyapole. After that, the second stage will begin, the advance toward Orikhiv. Now let's move to the Pokrovsk sector of the front, where very important changes were recorded today. Let's break them down. Since early morning, Ukrainian sources have been spreading claims that the Ukrainian army allegedly conducted a series of counterattacks in the northern part of Pokrovsk, secured positions in the city center, and nearly pushed Russian forces back to Moscow and Crimea. As always, such statements are not supported by serious evidence, just more loud declarations without specifics or visual confirmation. What's important here is that parallel to these claims, a draft document from Geneva leaked online, a 28-point proposed plan. Taken together, It gives the impression that Ukraine is deliberately creating in the media an illusion of a turning point, as if some decisive shift has happened in their favor, as if Russian forces have been pushed back and the Ukrainian army is ready to launch a major offensive. However, judging by what is actually happening, all this is likely being done solely to prepare the ground in advance for rejecting the 28-point plan. Perhaps that is the real goal. But either way, we must monitor this carefully, because the geolocated evidence and video materials coming today from the Pokrovsk direction radically contradict the claims made in Ukrainian media space and in official statements of the Ukrainian command. Let me repeat. According to Ukrainian claims, on the morning of November 23rd, the Ukrainian army supposedly cleared almost all of Pokrovsk, without providing any real proof. But if we rely on geolocated confirmations, today, for example, this video was published, shared by the 25th Air Assault Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, operating in the area. In this footage, we see Ukrainian FPV drone operators dropping munitions on Russian positions. The strike was carried out specifically at this location, Zaporozhsky Hamlet, Rodinska Street, against a fortified position along the yellow defensive line. Since a Ukrainian drone operates there freely, it means this particular fortification area is under Russian control. Based on this information and verified control over Zaporozhsky Hamlet, we updated the map. Yesterday, November 22nd, the situation looked like this. A narrow corridor remained between Myrnohrad and Hryshyn, connecting to the main territory of Ukraine. Yes, there were grey and black zones, areas where Russian drones were active and where information was limited and obscured by the fog of war. But even considering all these uncertain areas, they remained just that, unconfirmed sectors lacking reliable data. But today the picture is very different. There is a point along the Tunnel 5 to 15 route where Russian positions are located, and now we have enough evidence to state the corridor from Pokrovsk to Rodinska is physically blocked by Russian units. It seems likely that before November 27th, the day when Zelensky must either endorse or reject the American plan, the Russian Ministry of Defense will officially announce the complete clearing of Pokrovsk. But that is only part of the updates. The situation has also changed near Kostyubinskoho Street. Yesterday the map looked like this, but now the first data and new mapping marks are emerging, indicating that Russian forces have reached the northern outskirts of Pokrovsk and approached a network of fortifications located in the grey zone between Hryshyn and Pokrovsk. Additionally, new footage from the Pokrovska mine area was published today. This zone has long remained in the grey sector, hidden within the fog of war. But Ukrainian sources dispersed that fog today by releasing video. In it, a Ukrainian drone scans the mine area searching for Russian saboteurs and attempting to strike. Based on this data, we've applied further adjustments. It appears that the northern part of the mine is still held by the Ukrainian armed forces, but overall, the turning point on this section has already taken shape. In addition to this, Ukrainian sources published footage from the settlement of Rodinske. The video shows FPV drone strikes on Russian servicemen moving through the area. Based on this evidence, we have also updated the map. The data indicates an almost complete clearing of the settlement and the pushback of Ukrainian units toward Belitske, Vodyanska and Dobropilya. Now we move to the Konstantinivka direction, where a large volume of critically important updates has come in. For the past several months, we have mostly discussed the southeastern and eastern outskirts of Konstantinivka, where Russian forces were steadily advancing closer to the central part of the city, and today new corrections have appeared. One of the strong points on Toretska Street has come under Russian control, and additional reports have emerged about the beginning of an offensive towards Stepanivka along the H20 highway from the Yablunivka and Alexander Kaliniv axes. These updates come from neutral mapping resources and may indicate the start of a new phase of the offensive, southwest of Konstantinivka, aiming to reach the Stepanivka-Bereztok line and flatten the front further northwest, toward the southeastern outskirts of the city. Let me remind you, 3 days ago, during President Vladimir Putin's meeting with the sector commanders, the head of the South grouping stated that the majority of Konstantinivka would be cleared by mid-December. We now move to the Siversk direction. From here comes perhaps the most significant information of the day. This sector, the Solidar-Sloviansk line along the M03 highway, has remained almost unchanged since 2022. No major gains, no large-scale developments. But today the Russian Ministry of Defense announced extremely important news. It is reported that Russian forces from the South grouping have completely cleared the settlement of Pazona, a new name that appeared either after 1991 or possibly after 2014. Previously, the village was known as Petrovskoye. There is still no footage showing the raising of flags, but if this information is confirmed, it means that Russia has begun an offensive northwest toward the settlements of Rai, Oleksandrivka, Izlavinsk, and further toward Kramatorsk. Moreover, from the Pazona-Petrovskoye area, Russian units can also develop an offensive toward Riznikivka and Sviatopokrovske, aiming to create an encirclement for the Ukrainian Siversk grouping. Recall that earlier reports mentioned the clearing of Yampol, advances toward Zakotne and Kriva Luka, and control over 25% of Siversk. In the coming days, a series of updates should be expected here, and judging by current dynamics, all of them are likely to be in favor of Russian forces. It is also worth noting that yesterday full control over Zvanivka was announced. Based on the footage and reports, we updated the map yesterday. Today it is clear that this is not a local gain, but a wide-front offensive from Vasyukivka toward Fedorivka, Perezhne, Kuzminivka, and Zvanivka. The width of the active sector is about 15 kilometers, and along this entire stretch, Russian forces are moving northwest. No major changes have been recorded in the Lyman area, at least not yet. It is possible that some progress has been made, but no published materials confirm it so far. However, very interesting information has emerged from the Borov axis. The Russian Ministry of Defense has not mentioned it today, but based on video footage published by the Ukrainian side, we can see that a group of Russian fighters, not 2 or 3, but around 10, entered Bohuslavka and entrenched themselves there. After that, Ukrainian FPV drones began striking the Russian assault troops who had taken positions. The fact of this advance along the indicated attack line, combined with the absence of an organized defense, suggests that Bohuslavka, its strong points, and its defensive lines will soon come under Russian control. After a short regrouping, Russian forces will most likely advance along the R-79 highway toward Borova. This offensive is also significant because, according to Trump's plan, Russia would have had to withdraw from the Kupiansk direction if an agreement were signed. But what is happening now clearly shows that the withdrawal of Russian forces from these territories is not planned, regardless of whether the peace plan proposed by the United States is signed or not. And this brings our briefing to an end. Friends, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated on all the latest developments from the Ukrainian front.